George Kilpatrick, Inspiration for the Nation, celebrating people we feel good about. Victoria Coit is the senior organizer for the New York Civil Liberties Union, Central New York chapter. And recently, they've had a forum on police accountability that, among other things, keeps the local chapter of the New York Civil Liberties Union busy. So, Victoria, welcome to the program. Victoria also has her hands in all kinds of pots, but we're talking about NCLU right now.
Yes,
So,
thank you. Thank you for having me.
so tell me, you had a a forum on police accountability. Tell me what that was about and what did you learn?
Yeah, so most recently, about a week ago, we had, as you mentioned, a panel discussion about police accountability and transparency as it relates to the Syracuse Police Department. After the murder of George Floyd, um, there was a law put in act called 50A. It was repealed. And in 50A, it basically says that police departments now have to turn over their records of discipline and that type of information to people that FOIL it. FOIL is a freedom of information where you can just go in and request information. And so
For
our lawyers,
public entities, yes, yeah.
yes, public entities. And so our council at NYCLU foiled most of the major police departments throughout New York State, Syracuse being one of the first where we received some information back, but not the amount of information that was requested. So from that point on, they went on to sue the Syracuse Police Department and saying, hey, this is law. You need to turn over these records. You know, what's going on, essentially. And some data was released. We have a lot of data on the stop records, where police are stopping, how frequently they're stopping and pulling people over, and what that looks like. And so we wanted to spark discussion around that data and just start the conversation going. Even though we didn't receive what we asked for, we could still start a conversation. And that was the start of the conversation. A panel discussion with 4 different interesting individuals that are on the ground. You probably know them, doing the work daily. We have Clifford Ryan from OGs Against Gun Violence. We had Raynette Relaford, the administrator for the Citizen Review Board. There was also Hassan Bloodworth with Rebirth, a police accountability organization as well. And then also our third person was from Spark. I don't know the full acronym right in front of me, but basically they are a consortium of different organizations that work on police accountability and transparency issues. We had a representative from their organization as well. So it was a robust conversation. It was well attended. And I was really proud of our community for coming out and asking the hard questions or even making themselves available to be engaged. So I'll say that first and foremost, we can't have these panel discussions without people,
Right,
you
right.
know. And so you got to respect the people.
What were the hard questions that people were asking? And so that's the first part of it. And since NYCLU asked for records from all over the state, as you mentioned, were other entities more forthcoming than Syracuse was, or was it about the same in terms of the information? So, what were the hard questions, and was
Mhm.
Syracuse as forthcoming? Two different questions, actually. Was Syracuse as
Yeah.
forthcoming with the data as other entities, or as forthcoming as other entities?
Right now, we don't have from my knowledge, we don't have full information from any of the police departments, and a lot
Okay.
of these are moving into a different stage, or the information is being put off. So I can't say that SPD, Syracuse Police Department, did not at all respond. What
Hmm.
they responded with was saying that they would get some information to us by 2025.
Whoa.
Yes, and so the lawyers then went back and said 2025 shouldn't be taking this long. It's usually, good practice to, as you know, they're saying, oh, because it's so many stops that have to be investigated.
Hmm.
And in normal practice, in this type of situation, you would receive information in batches. right?
Right.
Say there's 100,000. Okay, so every couple months we're gonna have to need, 500,
Right.
but they're saying, no, we want to get this all to you at once. So that's the issue right now. Some of the hot button questions, I would say I was the moderator. I started it out addressing the fact that we have a chief accountability officer that was hired by the by the Syracuse Police Department to ensure and to enforce accountability when it comes to the police. And that, his salary is $105,000. What does success look like for this person? Has anybody met with this person? What do they know about it? And what are their thoughts in general about having an accountability officer, and have they seen change since the accountability officer was put in place in early 2023? That was one of the questions. I think that the one thing that stuck out to me the most about the panel is that you had to sort of dial it back and do some education on what the Citizen Review Board is and what it isn't.
Okay.
With the power that they have or the power that they don't, right?
Right.
As the Citizen Review Board empowered by our current administration and Syracuse Police Department to actually do the work, or are they in name only?
Right.
And a lot of discussion started to come out around that, just educating them, giving them the understanding of when you go to the Citizen Review Board, you have a a case, and you're saying, I need help outside of the police to look into this because if it's with the police, having an issue. They open up a case, they start to investigate, and then they make their recommendations to the police for possible training or discipline that can be given to the officer. Now, one thing that is very important, crucial to understand about this is that the Citizen Review Board doesn't have the power to actually sit in on the investigation,
Right.
right? Ask questions. Well, what about this and what about that? That's not something that they do. The police actually investigate the police.
Right.
And then, so they're policing themselves to some extent. And on top of that, when the Citizen Review Board says, this is the issue, here you go, here are our recommendations, that is not something that they have to uphold. They could say, thank you for the recommendations. There is also no data on how many recommendations for training and discipline were actually, in fact, enacted.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so to the untrained eye, I guess, you can think that possibly the Citizen Review Board can be doing more, but in
Mm-hmm.
fact, they're doing all that they can with the capacity that they have. One point that Raynette put out, the administrator, she was saying that, they hired a chief accountability officer for $105,000, which is just shy of the entire budget for the Citizen Review Board, in prior years. And I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah. And I guess the question is what, in terms of the answer to the question, whether they've seen any change, what was the answer?
It was a unanimous no.
Yeah.
Um, and on top of what did we expect?
And by
Like,
the way, I have that acronym for you. Asked what Spark stood for. So
mhm,
my sleuthing has come up with the
okay.
acronym for Spark. And it's basically all the things you're talking about. Syracuse Police Accountability and Reform Coalition. So there you go.
Yes. Thank you for that. And the representative from that his name was Joe Bennett, which added richness as well to the conversation. He is actually a teacher inside of a biology teacher, I think, in the Syracuse City School District. And
Mhm.
so he was sort of making those connections with education and our teens and the system. Like the thing that we're fighting is not exactly the system. This system is going to be what it's going to be, right? There has to be other factors in place, and then also an engagement piece from citizens in order to turn this thing around or at least move it off its axis a little.
Yeah, it seems, yeah. I mean, the community has been asking for the has been asking for more teeth for the Citizen Review Board. There's been a lot of resistance. Has the let me put it this way: has any of the police chiefs, to your knowledge, been cooperative or supportive of this entity?
Of 50A, of turning over the
Or
records of
just
their
in terms of the
discipline?
Citizen Review Board in general, from your knowledge?
From my knowledge, there are varying degrees of our version of the Citizen Review Board across the state, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, yes, you can. The actual administrator can interview the actual police officer,
Mm-hmm.
so it's just varying degrees. And there are models of great ones that are effective. And then we also have models of ones that are not capable of being as effective. I mean, when you want to, the truth sometimes is in the funding, right?
Right.
We put money towards things that we find valuable.
So you're suggesting that the city or the council, whomever is responsible for funding the Citizen Review Board, if they thought that was a priority, they would give more money to it? Is that what you're saying?
In my experience, that's where I've seen success. And passion goes where money flows. Money goes where passion goes.
So, Victoria, if they had more money, what would they be able to do that they can't do now because of lack of money?
Hire a larger team.
Okay.
And these are probably more Raynette questions,
No,
so I
they
don't want
are.
to answer them all for
I'm
her.
just going
But
through. Yeah. No.
yeah.
After I asked that question, I was like, "Now, what Victoria?" I understand and I appreciate that. But I just wanted to understand how the community sees this and what would they need in terms of that. So, what else is the NICLU in Central New York working on? What are the issues that you're focused on?
Well, I'm relatively new to the team, so I started this past March 2023. And I myself knew a lot about NICLU, but I understand that public facing, a lot of people associate NICLU with the I-81 project, and the great work that Lanessa and Youssef and DECA have done in the past, and a slew of other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so outside of that, I-81 environmental justice. We're working on a community land trust for the land that will become available once I-81 does come down. We also work on police transparency. Let's see. Oh, you got me drawing a blank. But no, we work on police transparency. We work on the I-81 issue. We work on some LGBT issues, not so much out of Syracuse, New York, but around the state. Also, New York for All, which is a campaign supporting immigration, supporting immigrants. And there's a lot of there's policy on that out they're looking to pass. We do a lot of lobbying, on the ground action. We have a Center for Racial Justice that is newly formed. So they're formulating what they're going to be working on as well. Education Center, legal and policy. So there's a lot of different moving pieces. And I myself work inside of the field department, which is relatively new, but our job is sort of working with all these other departments to get things done, and policy behind it.
In some ways, you're making sure that other voices are amplified, making sure communities informed. On the I-81 project, what are you specifically doing now? Because obviously there's this concern about residents and displacement and return, and also how this new land is going to be developed. So that for those who don't know, who may be watching this from somewhere else on the planet, Syracuse, New York's viaduct, which is called I-81, there's a viaduct portion of that, which is going to be coming down at some point, 1.4 miles, I believe. And with that coming down of that project, there will be vacant land that will become available for development. But also in the midst of that, there'll be some housing displacement as well. We had Bill Simmons on last week, so he helped us to understand that piece. But you and of course the Blueprint, y'all are advocating to make sure that the tenants are going to be that they're going to be made whole, or at least supported, or at least educated about all that's going on, from what I understand. But Maybe that's just me trying to understand it.
Yeah, so affordable housing, I've been saying for the last probably since COVID, if not a little bit before that, that we're in a housing crisis. You know, the price of housing is astronomical, and that is for a middle income person. Can you
Mhm.
know? Let's not even talk about different socioeconomic levels that this is becoming an issue. And so what's happening inside of the viaduct is roughly 24 acres of land, new land will become available. And not, I wouldn't say all the way new, because there used to be a very illustrious, Black neighborhood there.
Right.
And because of eminent domain and redlining and all the things
Right.
historically, the highway was just built straight through the city. And so yes, we believe that there should be a very equitable housing plan put in place, and understanding that when you tear down all of these units, a good amount of the units, and they're not being replaced one for one,
Mhm.
that's not happening. There is no mandate because of our zoning laws, and that's another thing that we were working on, was zoning and rezoning. There's not a mandate that says that you have to build affordable housing. And we feel like there should be a mandate. Now it's not required, should I say, it is incentivized,
Okay.
right? So if you do build affordable housing, you get different tax breaks, this, that, and the third. But if you don't want to build affordable housing, you don't have to, right? And that can be problematic moving forward because you're taking away public housing, low
Mhm.
income housing, and you're not replacing it fully. There's no, you're not replacing it. Let's just say that. So we're going to run into a huge issue when it comes to, we have Micron coming to Syracuse, right? We have
Right.
all these other large businesses coming to Syracuse. This is changing the dynamics of, if you have a ridiculous amount of six-figure jobs, yes, if you go up on rent, those individuals can afford it, right? But then there is a whole entirety of people that cannot, and we're going to run into a big issue. And I'm already seeing it like peaking and rearing its head, um, when it comes to people being unhoused.
So when you think about Victoria Coit, senior organizer for the NYCLU New York Civil Liberties Union Central New York chapter, when you think about that work and making sure that you're bringing this awareness, what is the power that you have in this conversation?
Yeah, so after like predates me knocking on folks with Nike who knocked on thousands of doors, interviewed a lot of different people, pulled them together at the table and asked them what did they want, what interested them, when it comes to this project. And they wanted to know that they would have a place to stay, that they
Mhm.
would have a place to come back to, that they can afford to be there, after all the things happen. And outside of that, we thought that the best route of action was supporting, a group of community members, leaders, people that live there, and creating a community land trust. A
Mhm.
community land trust ensures that, that land could be developed, but it cannot be sold off to the highest bidder,
Mhm.
right? And the land is owned by the the governing board and
Okay.
body. Um, so, like I mentioned, those 24 acres that become available, they're asking for 4.5 acres of land to be given back to the community.
Okay.
Um, Sorry about that.
Mhm.
We're asking for 4.5 acres. Out of those 4.5 acres, or they're located between Adams Street and Martin Luther King.
Okay. And so, go ahead.
What was the second half of the question?
Oh
I
no, no.
want to make sure that I
Oh, you
answered
were just
everything.
telling me. Oh, you were just basically saying that that's where the acres, that's where the available land is. And I thought you were making a point. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right.
No, so what I'm saying is that this is one of the ways, one of the tools in our toolbox, um, to combat gentrification,
Mm-hmm.
um, to ensure that affordable housing, that there's a plan for affordable housing inside of that footprint, that the 15th ward is not forgotten. What was done in the past is not forgotten, and also is paid to the future. Um, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important. And so, how can the community support the work that you guys are doing in raising awareness in the community?
Yeah, so I'm actually having a volunteer convening coming up in November. Anybody that's interested in learning more and sort of just having that hour and a half where we can all sit down and I'll basically go through the issues and the top priorities that we're working on, connecting them to the policy and explaining the work. I would love to talk to you, meet you. You can find me on Facebook at Victoria Coit. You can email me with NYCLU at VCOIT at NYLCU, or I'm sorry, NYCLU, NYCLU. You can .org. You can email me and just say, you want to be a part of it. And yeah, let's get to work. Share the word with your friends and family. If you need
What
me
would we
to
do?
email you information, pardon me,
What would we do if we would have
what
volunteered?
would you do?
Yeah.
Yes, if you were to volunteer, you would receive training in community organizing. You would understand how to tell your personal story and in turn to be able to community organize, because I feel like storytelling is the biggest tool that we have.
Mhm.
You will do some lobbying in Albany. You could do some local lobbying with us, understanding and getting training on that, understanding what that is. You will basically be empowered and have the tools needed to address any issue in your community, because community organizing is a tool that you can use across the gamut, whether it's party planning or starting a business.
And it's not as easy as you think.
No, it's not. But once you have the tools, it is.
All right, vcoit at nyclu.org for more information.
Yes.
The New York
Yes.
Civil Liberties Union, Central New York chapter, Victoria Coit is a senior organizer. Victoria, anything else we need to know about the work of NYCLU and what you got coming up?
I would say that we're going to continue having community conversations, also pulling together clergy from Central New York to better educate them on the issues.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Yeah, and that's all for now, between now and the end of the year.
All right. Well, this is good work. Victoria, thank you so much. Again, bcoit, nyclu.org, bcoit at nyclu.org. They have a volunteer convening coming up in November. Check them out. And also, do you have a mailing list so people can also email you to get on the mailing list and you can get information about things that are coming up?
Yes, yes. Just if you email me, I can put you on the mail list.
Here you go. All right, Victoria, thank you so much. Inspiration for the Nation. Keep up the good work.